Joanna and I are okay. It's something I wanted to kind of touch on, and it has to do with being in a neurodiverse relationship. So I am neurodivergent. So just a little quick history and a little bit of understanding. So neurodiversity was coined by sociologist Judy Singer in the late 1990s. The intent was to recognize the differences in human brain function are natural, like biodiversity, and to promote acceptance of different ways of thinking, learning, and behaving. So neurodivergent describes individuals whose neurological functioning is different from what is considered typical, neurotypical. And Joanna is neurotypical. So in a nutshell, if you don't know what that really means, it means that I kind of process things differently. For lack of better words, you could say it's somewhat of like a spectrum or whatnot. And for Joanna, she's neurotypical, so pretty much the way she processes stuff is very, I guess you could say, normal, so to speak. Another thing about that is a lot of people tend to self-diagnose themselves these days. Like, oh, you know, I'm on a spectrum, or, oh, I'm ADHD, oh, I'm ADD. And I mean, it's just from looking at YouTube videos and, not YouTube, but Googling stuff, and, oh, you know, I have anxiety, and, oh, I forget things. Oh, look at me, I'm neurodivergent. And it really has nothing to do with that. It's a lot deeper. And most people, when you have a deep conversation about them about being neurodiverse, they fail to make the connection of what it really means. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be back here. It starts to get closed off. I'm behind the big gong. But things such as emotional regulation, things such as the executive function of my brain is complete crap. Horrible. And there's a lot of things that people that are neurotypical can have many of these symptoms and just self-diagnose themselves. But the funny thing is like later in my life, I was diagnosed about a couple years ago. And upon that diagnosis and all the research I'm doing and the work that I'm actually doing for a therapist, psychedelic therapist also, everything just made sense. Like, it's like the walls just came down and I just saw this like truth, and there was this bit of almost shame or kind of like, if I would have known this when I was younger, I could have went about doing things differently. Oh my God, that is a huge spider and I did not run into it. This is not a trail to walk on. The thing is that, you know, anxiety, right? It's a byproduct of this kind of neurodiverse brain. So it's kind of always going a million miles an hour, and it's like, be in a situation, you just lived every scenario of that situation within like 3 seconds, analyzed every single perspective. You could put yourself in the shoes of every single perspective, lived it fully, and then you're back to the situation or back to whatever's happened to you, like presently right now. So like Joanna and I, we've had, you know, many arguments and situations where it's like, she doesn't understand, or maybe I don't understand her neurotypical mind. And things sometimes just don't make sense at all to me. And this is something being completely open about. You know, it's, if you're in a relationship and, you know, your partner's neurotypical and you're neurodivergent, or the other way around, it's not a smooth road, I'll tell you right now. There is a lot of challenges in it. And Joanna and I, for the past few years, have been through a lot together in terms of this kind of always coming up and being an issue. Another is like, of course, hyperfocus. Now, hyperfocusing is freaking like amazing. It's really fun to just lock in. But as soon as that's broken, like irritability comes into play. I get super irritated, frustrated, and all that stuff. Ooh, is this a path down here? Oh no, I don't think I could walk down here. So to give you a visual perspective of what hyperfocus is to me and how I can make it make sense, imagine like sitting in front of a computer and you have like tentacles. I don't know, just tentacles. And all the tentacles are stuck to the screen, right? As each tentacle gets removed, that's the focus being lost. And once all the tentacles are disconnected from the screen, it's just like Medusa and they're just flying everywhere. And that's when it's like the racing mind. You can't focus, your mind goes from here to there. And it's just, every tentacle is like a viewpoint and a focus point, and it's just like gone. And then now to bring that back, it's like latching it on one by one by one. Another thing, flow. Any type of flow. And I mean, it could be the simplest flow as like, I'm in the middle of, my flow was, I'm about to go throw the garbage out. I don't know, and that's it. Anything that interrupts that flow of that mindset, like being locked in, immediate, like scatterbrained, and just like a bit of anxiety hits in. Now these simple things, very simple tasks for like people that are neurotypical, it's like, oh, well, just do it, or just change the plan, or, you know, just get over it, or how hard is it to just, if you're about to do something or you're doing something, just like stop, pivot, and move on to the next thing. That's not how a neurodivergent mind works, and I wish it were that easy. I really do wish it were that easy. Another thing, starting projects and stuff without finishing it and then moving on to the next one. So constantly starting a new one, then stopping, starting a new one. Then you have like a bunch of things that you started, but none of them are finished. None. So pretty much what I was getting at earlier at the temple when I was talking about, you know, Joanna and I and, you know, neurodivergence is that, you know, if anybody out there watching this is in a relationship such as that, like, we definitely know how it is, you know. There's definitely a lot of challenges being in a neurodiverse relationship, and there's times where it's a struggle, there's times where it's good. There's gonna be highs and lows like any other relationship, but there is that extra layer, you know, I guess you could say somewhat of difficulty, you know, to make it work. I mean, even to this day, you know, no matter how much I explain to Joanna about how my mind is, I think it's hard for somebody who's neurotypical to really grasp, especially when it comes to the why. And I think for me, it's hard for me to grasp the why when it comes to neurotypical people. Just like neurotypical people, I think sometimes it's hard to grasp why in terms of neurodiverse when it comes to, you know, why we do things a certain way or whatnot.